I have a confession to make, one that's probably going to get my nerd card revoked. And that is, I am not a big fan of the Lord of the Rings movies. Yet, you can boo. I understand. Some of you probably already turned the video off after that confession, but it's true. The Lord of the Rings movies are too long. I find them difficult to sit through, even though the imagery is very cool. I got to admit, too, I didn't read the Lord of the Rings books either, so I really didn't have a horse in the race. I knew that in the 2000s that the Lord of the Rings movies were things that you kind of had to go see. It was a nerd rite of passage. You needed to go because these were the coolest things ever. I think I went to the first two. I don't think I went to the last one. But there was a way for me to get into the Lord of the Rings movies without actually enjoying the movies, and that was through the Lord of the Rings trilogy of games for the PlayStation 2, the Xbox, and the GameCube. And I have the entire trilogy. I'm not going to open them all in this particular episode. We're going to do them one at a time. And we're going to start where we should start, which is with the Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers, this guy right here from 2002. Now, this particular game does both the Fellowship of the Ring and the Two Towers all in one set. So on the back of the case here, it says here that you decide the fate of Middle-earth. And what we've got here, we have the ability to join the Fellowship. So you can play as Aragorn, Legolas, or Gimli in this epic adventure. Upgrade your characters with new moves and weapons. You can unlock a secret character and level as well. Oh, look at that. Something you don't have to pay extra for. It's actually in the game. Defeat the Dark Lord's minions. You battle through locations from the first two films, including the Defense of Helm's Deep. You fight orcs, the Uruk-hai, ring wraiths, and more. You get exclusive movie content as well, with scenes from the film The Two Towers, soundtrack from the Fellowship of the Ring, and exclusive interviews with the stars of the films. One of the cool things about moving from CD-ROM media to DVD-ROM media is the fact that you had a lot more space to work with on the disc. So you could include some cool movie-type stuff or behind-the-scenes stuff that you couldn't get on a CD, really, unless you included another CD with the game. Here, all that stuff is on one DVD. We're going to go ahead and we're going to open this right now. This does have the identity tag at the top there, LOTR, The Two Towers, from Electronic Arts, one disc only. This game was developed by Stormfront Studios, and this was the only one of the Lord of the Rings games that was developed by Stormfront. The next game, Return of the King, was developed in-house, I believe, with EA. And so I'm going to show you another game as part of this episode that Stormfront did do, which has some similarities to this. But let's go ahead and get this opened up. Of course, I still don't have scissors here yet. At some point, I really need to get them. However, this particular game came to me with a little bit of the wrapper missing, so this makes it easy to open. I'm going to do it just like that. And we're going to take the seal off there. Actually, this might be... Yeah, that's easy enough to just open just like that. So we're going to just turn the disc around, and this is what we have on the inside. We do have the instruction manual and the Lord of the Rings disc right here. This is one of those cases, by the way, and I love these cases where you can actually transport your memory card. So if you're bringing this game to a friend's house, you can just put your memory card right up there. Just don't forget that it's in there. It'll drive you crazy if you do forget. So when we take a look at the instruction manual, put that right up there for a minute. The instruction manual is in black and white. Unfortunately, it is not in color. I do like the font there. It's pretty cool. And it tells the whole story of the Legend of the Ring. So if you don't feel like reading the books and you don't feel like watching the movie, you can get a background here in 2.5 pages. So probably maybe 750,000 words, something like that. There's another page right there. So this is an action game that involves some weapons combat, and the more successive hits you get, the bigger combo you get, and then you get extra experience points by doing so. It's the combat's fairly easy to pull off, and there's some blocking that goes on. And as you earn experience, your character can learn new moves, which will be important as you move later on through the game. As a matter of fact, the manual talks about the skill upgrades, which are the things you can learn. So there's a reason to want to play this well, so that you can go ahead and you can unlock all of these moves and really become a badass as you get later and later into the game. There is a way that you can register your game online, should you want to. I actually am glad I have this, because I only had this disc only. I got it from GameStop when they were getting rid of their PS2 stuff, so I do have it, so that's pretty cool. The other thing to note about the Lord of the Rings games is that you're getting the original case when you see the seal down next to EA Games there. You can see the Lord of the Rings seal official merchandise. So that's really important. I showed you in a video that I did talking about how buying from Amazon sellers, I kind of had a hard time. That didn't have the seal down there like this does. So that's pretty important to show. I enjoyed this game a lot. I enjoyed going through the character progression, learning the skills, unlocking some of the bonus stuff like the interviews, listening to the actors talk about their experiences with the game. I do love that behind-the-scenes kind of stuff. I think, although some people think that the interviews are cheesy, I think that they're pretty enjoyable. The game does look pretty good. It looks a little dated compared to games now, but if you're playing this especially on a CRT television, it does look really good. And of course, having the original soundtrack there adds that sense of immersion. It is a lot of fun to play. There are different difficulty levels, so you can play on easy and kind of get used to things and bump up the difficulty if you want to go back and play it some more. I do recommend it. It is arguable that this is the best of the three games, although the third game in the trilogy is a far different game altogether. But this game I think I enjoyed a bit more than Return of the King, and we'll do that one next time. As I mentioned, unfortunately, Stormfront was off the Lord of the Rings project after the Two Towers was done, but they weren't done with this particular kind of game. And the reason for that, or the reason I know that, is because I have the game that's a sequel, but not really a sequel. This is Demon's Stone right here, which is also a Stormfront Studios game. This was published by Atari and has the Dungeons & Dragons license to it. We also have Patrick Stewart and Michael Clark Duncan doing voiceovers in this game, which is pretty darn good. And we will talk about this a bit more. So we have 3 powers, 1 unstoppable force. So again, you see that similarity between the Two Towers with the Fellowship of the Ring, the characters that you could pick from in this particular game here. A fighter, a rogue, a sorcerer. 3 warriors on a fateful journey of redemption. Switch characters on the fly to control them all as you battle an onslaught of vicious enemies. Starring the voices of Patrick Stewart and Michael Clark Duncan, the cinematic saga features exceptional pick-up-and-play combat from one-on-one fighting to colossal melee attacks. And this was a game that I don't think was quite as good as the Two Towers, but still stands up nicely on its own. And because it takes place in the D&D universe, some people may identify with this a bit better if they weren't Lord of the Rings fans, but they were D&D fans. But we'll go ahead and we'll open this up and take a look anyway. This is a game I've not played very much of, and it's another one that I had only disc only, so it's nice to have this complete now. So we'll see what the instruction manual looks like and whether it sheds any more light on the kind of game that it is. Let's see if I can get the plastic off there. There we go. I know these last few episodes have run long. I've just had a lot to say. Yes, this does have the ID label at the top, Demon's Stone from Atari. So let's go ahead and get this open, and we'll see what we have going on in here. It's kind of cool to do a twofer, but with this being episode 75, it makes sense to do 2 games, right? So when we open this up, thankfully the disc does not come. Oh, cool. The disc does not come out. So on the inside, we have the disc, which is right here. We also have the instruction manual and some really cool Atari stickers. Oh, this is cool. I have to put these on something. I'm going to put that right back in there. So let's go ahead and take the instruction manual out. We're going to leave the stickers in. Oh, that's awesome. And that's the cool thing about opening new games is sometimes you just don't know what else is in there. Sometimes it's going to be a warranty card. Sometimes it's going to be a fold-out map. Sometimes it's going to be stickers. You don't know what it's going to be. When we open up the guide is in color. This is one of the few manuals that's in color. So we have some color screens here. Welcome to Demon Stone. The Dungeons & Dragons Player's Handbook, the Dungeon Master's Guide, and Monster Manual are ultimate guides to D&D, while the Forgotten Realms campaign setting provides key details about the setting for the Demon Stone game. 3 heroes meet by chance, or so it seems, at the entrance to an ancient mine in Damara. Not knowing one another, they were compelled by a mysterious force to this place. Now they set forth on an adventure beyond anything they could have ever imagined. Gee, that sounds kind of familiar, doesn't it? So we do have difficulty, and again, just like Two Towers, we have easy, normal, or hard difficulty. Let's see here. And it was kind of the same thing as in Two Towers, where we have that meter that kind of rises based on how adept you are at combat, so that's kind of cool. But if you're a D&D fan, all of the usual suspects are here. We've got orcs, trolls, slotty bugbears are here. Spiders, of course, because in any kind of action RPG, there's going to be spiders. There's a red dragon here and more. Let me see what we have. What's interesting here is to take a look at the voice talent. Let me see if that's here. So Patrick Stewart, Michael Clark Duncan, Vanessa Marshall is here. Robin Downs is here. A lot, actually, and John DiMaggio is here. So we've got some familiar sounds in the voice department, and the Northwest Symphonia does the music here. Now, I don't remember a lot about this particular game, but what I do remember is that it does play very similar to the Two Towers, which is a game that I did enjoy playing. And with as many games as I've played from the PS2 era on, and as many games as I didn't finish, Two Towers was one I actually did play all the way through to completion. Demon Stone, on the other hand, I have not. So I'd like to go back and finish that game in the not-too-distant future when I get some extra time. If you're curious as to what's on the back of this manual, by the way, it is Godzilla Save the Earth, a game that I've had some interest in attaining. I just haven't been able to find one at a good price. This comes in holiday 2004. This game actually, Demon Stone here, I believe, is also a 2004 game. It is. So this came out a couple of years after the Two Towers did. So that is a look at the Two Towers and then Demon Stone, games that are related, of course, by the development team that put them both together. But for our next episode, we're going to step away from Stormfront Studios. We're going to look at the middle game in the Lord of the Rings trilogy for the PS2, a game that, while it has a lot of similarities to the Two Towers, it's also a bit different, and whether that difference is good or bad is really up to the game player, and we'll talk about that next time in episode 76. But until that next time comes, thanks very much for watching this episode of Unsealed, friends. Take care of yourselves and each other, and I'll see you later.